Hello everyone, welcome to Skills Build Training YouTube channel. Myself Mohammad Zubair, and this channel is all about showing you how to become an IT pro really fast. So the topic of today's video is 5 best Linux distros for old laptops and desktops. So without any further ado, let's get started. There are some questions that everyone considers when going for a particular operating system, like if you have a laptop that is aging and that no longer performs as it used to, or what are your requirements from a particular operating system, what are the functionalities you want to achieve, etc. If we talk about the aging laptop scenario, and let's say we want to install the Linux operating system, there are some distributions from Linux which perform very well even on low resources and on aging laptops or systems particularly. With the right Linux distribution, we can get the best out of our machine and enjoy it for a few more years. To help you make the most out of your aging machine, we have picked the 5 best Linux distribution for your old laptops and machines. The first one in my list is Linux Lite. If we talk about the minimum requirements, it needs 1 GHz processor, 1 GB of RAM, and 8 GB of hard drive space. Linux Lite is the next Linux distribution that is really light and performs really well on your old machines. This operating system is free to use. Linux Lite offers a great deal of flexibility and usability, which makes this Linux distribution ideal for those people or users who migrate from the Microsoft Windows operating system. If we talk about its performance, the CPU performance of Linux Lite is very smooth. We can easily prefer this Linux distribution on various other popular and giant Linux distros such as Ubuntu, Manjaro, etc. The user interface of Linux Lite is very clean and intuitive, which gives it the look of a modern operating system. As you can see on your screen, we cannot judge that the user interface is of some old Linux distribution. If we talk about its functionalities, I will right click on my screen, and if I go to my applications, these are the applications which are available in this distro. As here you can see, we have time shift available. So how good it is that an old Linux distribution contains this feature. Then we have Office, and in that we have LibreOffice by default in it. And for PDF documents, we have PDF Viewer, and in multimedia, we have VLC Media Player. You might be surprised to know that the modern Linux distribution do not have VLC Media Player by default. In most of them, we have to download it from software repository. Then for the internet, we have Mozilla Firefox as web browser, Thunderbird Mail as email client. If we talk about its terminal, here you can see we have XFCE terminal available in Linux Lite. Now let's go to system settings. Here are our settings, and from here we can do a lot of stuff. For example, let's go to display. From here you can change different resolution, you can have a refresh rate for your screen, then you can change the rotation and reflection, etc. So I will just close this one, and if I go to its main menu, here we have a button to go to the menu. I will just click on it, and again here we have the same application which I had just shown you. And again here we have the categories of application, like we have applications which are related to internet under the internet category, and same goes for other applications as well. So I would say that this Linux distribution, which is like 1 GB in size, is really powerful. If we talk about its base, Linux Lite is a Debian based Linux distribution, and Debian is obviously based on Ubuntu. We have more than thousands applications to choose from for our use. For example, if you want to download one, you have the option to go through thousands of applications, and those applications can be installed and used for free. At the end, I would talk about its installation process. It is very easy to install. There is nothing that is complicated in it. The speed of installation is very fast. A test was conducted and it has shown that we can install it on any laptop or PC within 1 minute and 30 seconds or even less. So that was all about Linux Lite. And now let's move ahead with our second Linux distribution for old laptops. The second distribution in our list is Lubuntu. First of all, if we talk about the minimum hardware requirements, Lubuntu needs 128 megabytes of RAM and 2 gigabytes of your hard drive space. So it means it is available for almost every kind of laptop out there. So you see that how light it is on your hard drive resources. Its 21.04 version was released on 22nd April 2021 and its file size is about 720 megabytes in size. Lubuntu is a lightweight and fast operating system having a clean and easy to use user interface. It uses the LXDE desktop environment as LXDE is written in the C programming language and it uses the GTK+2 toolkit. If we talk about its user interface, anyone who has used the Windows operating system will feel very comfortable while using Lubuntu because it looks very familiar with Windows. As you can see on your screen, we have almost same arrangements of icons and icon tray. In Windows, we have start button here. In Lubuntu, we also have start button here. Then we have some icons for our application. And here we have our icon tray, and same as Windows, we have our volume button, we have our batteries icon here and other things. Now if we talk about some of its feature, here you can see Lubuntu offers you to have more than one desktop. It means you can work on different desktop at a time. And now if we talk about its other application, I will go to my start menu. Here we have different categories with respect to different applications. If I go to my sound and video, here I have Genome MPV. In Office, we have Gnumeric for documents, and for PDF documents, I will go to my graphics, and here we have Adobe Reader, which is by default available. For internet, we have Mozilla Firefox by default available in here. And now I'll go to my system tools. Here you can see we have LXT terminal and we have HTOP. So how surprising it is that a Linux distribution which is that small in size and require that limited number of resources contains the HTOP. For those who do not know what HTOP is, well, basically it is a terminal based graphic tool which tells you about all the system resources which your system is consuming at the point. In most of the modern Linux distribution, we do not see this tool. And here we have our software repository, means from here we can add, remove or update our software, and then we have our software updater. So these were some of the features and applications which we get in Lubuntu. At the end, if we talk about the release mechanism, Lubuntu offers you the regular releases or interim releases. Every new feature gets rolled into the LTS release. So that was all about Lubuntu. And now let's move on to the third Linux distribution for our old laptop. The third Linux distribution in our list is Bodhi Linux. First of all, I would talk about the minimum system requirements because obviously it is the matter of concern as we have our old laptops. So you need 500 MHz processor, 256 megabytes of RAM and 5 gigabytes of your hard drive space. I hope you must have these resources available, but the recommended system requirements are 1000 MHz processor, 512 megabytes of RAM and 10 gigabytes of hard drive space in order to get the best out of this Linux distribution. Bodhi Linux was introduced in 2011 and it was designed on the principle of minimalism. The idea was to give user a stable platform where they can build and have the system that they want. So by minimalism, we mean that we do not get a lot of applications in it because they wanted user to get what they want on their own. So it means you can download those software and applications which you want for your use, and that is why they wanted user to have more control over this Linux distribution. Bodhi Linux is a very lightweight distribution from Linux, and it is based on Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. If I talk about the desktop environment, Bodhi uses its own Moksha desktop environment. Here, if I go to my settings, and from there I'll go to my themes, and here you can see at the moment my system is using Moksha desktop environment. If you want to go by default, you just click on default, and now our system is using default desktop environment. Let's talk about some of its functionalities and features. We have Chromium as default web browser available in it, and then we have multiple desktop available, means you can use more than one desktop window in Bodhi Linux. Then I'll go to its startup menu, and from here we have some applications which are available in our Bodhi Linux. In accessories we have LeafPad, and then in graphics we have ePhoto, and for the internet, as I have told you earlier, that we have Chromium web browser. For sound and video, they have given us Pulse audio volume control, and at the end we have system tool, and in that we have our terminal as terminology, and then we have Bodhi App Center, and from here we can download a lot of software for our system. On the bottom right side we have some more icons. This one is for battery, then we have our audio player, and then we have our file manager, and on the top left we have a clock available in here. I would go to my startup menu again, and from here I'll go to my settings, and I'll go to my settings panel. From here we can do a lot of stuff, like for the application purposes, go to application category, and here we have different things related to applications. Then we have our screen, then we have our inputs, and so on. In advanced option we have all the settings related to our systems, like you can monitor the performance of your system, then we have power management, then we have search directories, means where your system will search when you will search for something in your system. So that is how we get a lot of stuff in Bodhi Linux, and I would say that as per its size, it's a quite powerful Linux distribution. So I would recommend you to use and give it a try at least once. At last, I want to show you that how the terminal of Bodhi Linux looks like. So I'll go to my applications, and from here I'll go to my system tools, and then I'll go to my terminology. So I'll just click on it, and this is the terminal of Bodhi Linux looks like. So many people like the recent release of Bodhi Linux, and in the past it was very good, but this last release has been the best so far. They have broken free of the idea also that Bodhi is only for the older system by adding support for newer kernels. So that was all about the Bodhi Linux, and now let's move ahead with the fourth Linux distribution. The next Linux distribution which I'm going to talk about is Peppermint operating system. When we think of versatility, flexibility, and ease of maintenance of Ubuntu, along with the blinding speed and simplicity of LXDE at one place, you get Peppermint operating system. It was developed by the same developers who developed the Linux Mint 8 LXDE edition. Peppermint operating system is a fast, lightweight, stable implementation. It was started in 2010 and it is based on Ubuntu. Peppermint's operating system brings some familiar concepts along with it. Its desktop is very clean and pleasing to the eyes. As you can see on your screen, that we do not get any feel of any old operating system because it possesses everything which a modern operating system based on Linux have. I'll go to my menus. From here we have different categories of our applications. First of all, I'll go to my accessories, and in our accessory we have calculator, we have archive manager, which is a zip file, and then we have our disk, which is used for disk management, and then we have our files, which is file explorer, and then we have our image viewer. Then we have internet category, and in that we have Mozilla Firefox as the default web browser, And how cool it is that we get Dropbox in Peppermint operating system as well. Then in the multimedia section, we have media player and we have some other things as well. In the office section, we have Microsoft Suite for documents management. In most of the recent Linux-based distribution, we get LibreOffice. But how cool it is that we get Microsoft Office in Peppermint operating system. But there is one limitation, and that is we have to use this Microsoft Office online. Then we have Google Drive, and for email engine we have Gmail here. Now I'll go to my settings, and here we have a lot of other things as well. So from here we can do different tweaks and we can perform different settings as per our liking for our Peppermint operating system. And here we have our terminal. So I'll just open it and let's see if we have top and htop available in it. Yes, we have top available in Peppermint operating system. For those who do not know about this tool, well, this is a tool which tells us about the system resources which are getting used at a time. On the bottom right corner, we have workspaces. Peppermint allows us to have 2 workspaces by default. So let me open my file manager here. This is my file manager, and now I'll go to my second workspace. And here you can see I do not get anything in this workspace. So it means I can do different things in different workspaces so that I can have concentration on what I'm doing at one workstation or at one workspace. So I would say Peppermint is a very lightweight yet very powerful Linux based distribution. So as I have told you earlier that we get Microsoft Office, but we have to use Microsoft Office online, Peppermint focuses on social media and the cloud and cloud apps. So most of the applications are not local apps but web apps. So as a result, there is no default mail client which is available on Peppermint, no image editing software, no default installed Office suite. As a matter of fact, there are not many local applications installed in it. In that case, we have to use the web apps as Peppermint operating system focuses on the cloud and web apps. At the end, I will talk about the minimum system requirements which you need to install this operating system. It needs 1 GB of RAM, but the recommended is 2 GB. In terms of processor, it is based on the Intel x86 architecture, and the last one is hard disk space. It needs 4 GB of hard disk space minimum. And that was all about Peppermint operating system. And now let's move ahead and talk about the last Linux-based operating system for old laptops. The last Linux distribution which I'm going to talk about in today's video is Ubuntu Mate. Ubuntu Mate is among the family of the powerful desktop operating system, and it is based on the very popular Linux distribution which is Ubuntu. The things which makes Ubuntu Mate unique from most of the Linux-based operating system is that it comes with the advanced desktop environment which is known as Mate. Originally, it was created as the continuation of GNOME 2 desktop environment. Installation of Ubuntu Mate Linux distribution is no different than the other Ubuntu based distributions. It did not change a lot in the past several releases. I'm not going to show you the installation process here, but what I do want to explain and point out here that it is a relatively new addition. People or user can now choose either a normal installation which has the default selection of software which is chosen by the Ubuntu Mate developers, or people can go for a minimal install if they want more control over what gets installed with their operating system. There are a lot of people who likes to go with minimal installation because they only want to have those application and software in their system which they want. Another trend that you will see in a lot of large Linux distribution is they have started the introduction of welcome screen after we are done with the installation. The purpose of it is to give some kind of a quick overview to the user of how to use new distribution. So I'll show you that one as well. I'll go to my menu and I will search for welcome. This is the welcome screen which we get after we are done with our installation. And from here, we get the overview of how this Ubuntu Mate will look like and how we can perform different things in it. Here we have software category, then we have desktop layout, color selection, browser selection, and different other things. And now let's move ahead and talk about different applications and features which are available in Ubuntu Mate. I'll go to my menu. So these are the categories of different applications and software which we get by default in Ubuntu Mate. So I will start with accessories. In here we get different things, like we have Redshift available, then we have screenshots, then we have backups. So that is a really cool thing that we get Redshift and backups. And then in the administration, we have everything related to software installation, their updation, and different other things. And then I will talk to you about the category which is internet. We get Firefox web browser as default, and then in Office section we get LibreOffice for documents management. Then we have sound and video, and we get Celluloid and Rhythmbox and Cheese by default. In terms of system tool, we have Mate Terminal, which is obviously a terminal. Then we have System Monitor, from where we can get the information about all the resources and how our system is performing. Then we have Log File Viewer, and then we have firmware available as well. If I go into my control center, here I get to do a lot of stuff. For example, I can change displays, I can change different backgrounds, I can do a lot of stuff with disk management, and then we have power management as well. I'll just close this one and let's right click on our screen and let's change our desktop background. So how cool it is that this is a very light Linux distribution, but we get almost every feature and every functionality which we see in modern day Linux distributions. So from here you can change any desktop background which you like, and after that we are done. The next thing which I want to talk to you about is software updater. Here it is. From here we can update our different software and different applications. Like you can see, we have Firefox available, we have LibreOffice, then down here we have different other packages which we can update, and here we have the information that how much space we need in order to update our applications and different packages. I'll just close this one. The last thing which I want to talk to you about is workspaces. In Ubuntu Mate we get 4 workspaces by default, and here you can see I am at the first one, and now I can switch through my workspaces. So that is a really cool thing which we get in Ubuntu Mate. So at the last, I will talk about the hardware requirements of Ubuntu Mate. It needs 1 GB of RAM and 8 GB of storage, but the recommended requirements are 4 GB of RAM and 16 GB of storage. So I would recommend you to go with the recommended requirements because you will get the best and optimal performance out of this Linux based distribution. And with that, we get to the end of today's video. I hope now you have better idea that with which Linux based distribution you should go for your old laptop and desktop. So I hope you have liked this video. So please leave a like and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon along with it. If you have something to ask, please leave a comment below. Till the next video, take care.